I am Mahmoud Isayola, and it gives me great pleasure to have you join us here today. The NDLEA Twitter space serves as an online initiative directly broadcasted from the headquarters of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency through our social media platforms. Our primary objective is to increase awareness among the general public regarding drug-related concerns within Nigeria and globally. This program is recorded, allowing you the opportunity to revisit and listen to it at your convenience. Now, I have the honor of introducing the host for this program, Mr. Femi Babafemi, who not only holds the esteemed position of Director of Media and Advocacy, but will also be our knowledgeable guide for today's session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. Once again, a very warm welcome to everyone already on this space. Good afternoon, like we used to say to all of us across Nigeria. Good morning and good evening to those from other parts of the world, be you in Europe, America, Asia, Middle East, and even the rest of Africa. This is NDLEA's Open Forum on Twitter Space, a platform where we share information about drug abuse and the consequences of abusing illicit substances. It is also a channel for us to update you about all the activities of the agency in the area of drug supply reduction, in the area of drug demand reduction, in the area of prevention, and all of those things that we do at the NDLEA, especially what we do to curb the menace of substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking. It's also a challenge and opportunity for you out there for us to get your concerns and feedback from you out there as we continue to improve what we do. Like Mahmoud has said, this conversation is recorded and is also streamed live on our other social media handles, especially at NDLEA01 on Facebook, and at NDLEA_Nigeria on YouTube. Again, I repeat that you can also go back and listen to the recording after this 2-hour encounter, and then you can feel free to share with others. Now, this moment before I invite our guest today to speak to us. You all know that we will be discussing something very key and very important to us, especially as it affects our target audience, our youth, the youth population. So today our topic will be drug abuse, mental wellness, and safeguards for our youth. For us at the agency, safeguarding the lives of our youths and indeed the public against the menace of substance abuse is key and primary, and that's why the Chairman Chief Executive of the agency has been leading, that is Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, has been leading this advocacy, quite a number of advocacy initiatives across parts of the country, and even handing over the process to our commands across the states, the local government, so that we can get this message down to the grassroots. Now it's time to invite one of our ladies to take us through our news highlights segment, and that will be done by Charity Unsoshima. Unso, let's hear from you quickly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining us on this week's Twitter space. My name is Charity Doga, and here are the NDLEA news highlights for the week. NDLEA uncovers med lab in Lagos residential community, recovers packs of illicit drug, intercepts UK bound skunk in native black soap, tramadol pills in women hair. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have uncovered a secret laboratory producing deadly illicit substance, methamphetamine, in a residential community located in Ikeja, Lagos State, where already packaged sachets of the drug and various precursor chemicals used in the production were recovered. The clandestine laboratory located at number 4 Bode Oluwo Street, Mende, Maryland, Ikeja was stormed by anti-narcotic officers of the agency on Tuesday, 6 June, after credible intelligence and surveillance confirmed the illicit substance was being produced in the duplex building. At the end of the search, 1 kilogram of already produced and packaged methamphetamine, quantities of precursor chemicals, and other items used for the production of the deadly drug were recovered from the house, while efforts are on to apprehend the fleeing owner of the house. Nabbed at Isheri with 12.5 liters of scotches and 98 kilograms of cannabis sativa belonging to a fleeing suspect recovered at Akerele area of Agege, just as 12.5 kilograms of the same substance was seized from Adebowale Babatunde after his arrest at Mushin on Thursday, 8 June. Meanwhile, a consignment of 3.20 kg skunk concealed in native black soap heading to the United Kingdom has been intercepted by NDLEA operatives at the narco export shade of the Murtala Muhammed International Airport, Lagos on Wednesday, 7th June, and a freight agent involved in the attempt to export the illicit drug, Oladele Toyin, arrested. Similarly, in a bid to export 3,000 pills of tramadol, 225 mg concealed inside women hair attachment to Monrovia, Liberia, by a cargo agent, Akinwale Taiwo, through the MMIA, was thwarted by the operatives who arrested him during the outward clearance of passengers at departure gate of Terminal 2 of the Lagos Airport. In Benue, a suspect, Emmanuel Ona, was arrested during a routine stop and search of vehicles at the Vanicare checkpoint with a total of 61,790 pills of tramadol seized from him on Thursday, 8th June. While another suspect, Ikena Jonathan Udezi, was nabbed at Otuago, Owan East local government area. In Kebbi State, Ali Bala, 45, and Danzaki Alhaji, 52, were arrested on Thursday, 8 June at Goram Mayaki, Gwandu local government area, with 5.9 kg cannabis and 3,792 tablets of diazepam. While 18-year-old Babangida Mandi was nabbed on Friday, 9th June along Marabang Yauri Kebbi Road with 6 kg cannabis and 658 tablets of diazepam. In Osun State, a total of 115.9 kg cannabis was recovered from Adewale Abidemi, 31, who was arrested at Araromi Oke-Odo in Ife South Local Government Area. Raji Musa, 25, Alomile Folashade, 34, nabbed at Bokuta village in the same local government area on Monday, 5th June. Also on the news highlights. Clandestine laboratories pose threat to public health and national security, says Mara, as INCB gathers African, Asian countries in Lagos for training collaboration. Chairman Chief Executive Officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, has said that the recent discovery of clandestine laboratories for the production of methamphetamine and the seizures of captagon, fentanyl, and other deadly substances in Nigeria further underscores the growing threat of illicit drugs to public health and national security. The NDLEA boss, who stated this in Lagos on Monday, 12th June in his opening remarks at the Global Rapid Interdiction of Dangerous Substance (GRID) training program being organized by the International Narcotics Control Board (INCB), said if drug trafficking cartels can maintain effective network across the globe, it is expedient for drug law enforcement agencies to forge a clear, formidable lead ahead of them to win this all-important fight. According to him, this program is a laudable initiative and is timely considering the proliferation of new psychotropic substances, NPS, non-medical synthetic opiates, and other dangerous substances. The multi-agency training on real-time communication, intelligence tools, awareness raising, and the handling of dangerous substances is a welcome development aimed at intercepting narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. Expressing optimism about the gains of the strategic alliance between West Africa and Southeast Asia, Mara said the twinning program is preparing a solid foundation for a more coordinated onslaught against drug trafficking cartels. Apart from exposing officers to global and regional trend in new psychotropic substances, NPS, and non-medical synthetic opiates, it will also enhance the capacity of law enforcement agents to discharge their duties. Also speaking at the program, Greg Nixon of the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement, INL, U.S. Department of State, said, "We continue to engage our foreign partners to attain more impactful counter-narcotics and law enforcement outcomes through foreign assistance, diplomacy, and deployment of deterrence tools," adding that the new modality of synthetic drug trafficking poses a significant challenge to the United States. In his remarks, Regional Technical Officer of the INBS GRID program in West and Central Africa, Amarubedi Oliver, congratulated the NDLEA chairman over the recent historic seizure of fentanyl. So, still on this segment, Nigeria-India agreed to block pipeline of illicit drug flow as NDLEA, NCB signed MOU. Tough time awaits traffickers of illicit drugs between Nigeria and India, with a historic signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and Narcotics Control Bureau of India in Abuja on Wednesday, 14th June 2023. Chairman Chief Executive Officer of the NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, who signed the MOU on behalf of Nigeria's premier anti-narcotics agency, said the move represents a robust partnership in the effort to exterminate incidences of drug abuse and illicit drug trafficking in the two countries. While acknowledging the courage exhibited by the two agencies in the course of past meetings that culminated in the MOU, Marwa stressed that the partnership will impact greatly on efforts to prevent illicit trafficking in narcotic drugs, psychotropic substances, precursor chemicals, and related matters between the two countries. In his remarks, Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria and head of the Indian delegation, who signed on behalf of his country, noted the enormous negative impact of drugs on global financial and political systems, adding that proceeds of drug trafficking are often directed towards terrorism financing. The Indian High Commissioner observed that drug trafficking does not only affect the health of the individual that consumes it, but equally the economy of the country as well as national security. He advised that both countries should take advantage of their similar demographic advantage to address substance use problems. He noted that the liberal trade relations and educational advantages enjoyed by both countries has been negatively applied to further criminal drug trade, urging that all hands must be on deck to ensure that the merchants of debt do not succeed in their evil trade. He pledged the commitment of the Indian government to ensure the enforcement of the provisions of the MOU. Now to our war against drug abuse activities across the country. In a bid to combat the growing menace of drug abuse in Nigeria, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) has intensified its drug demand reduction effort through series of advocacy lectures and campaigns. As part of the efforts, Zonal Commander, Zone F Command of the agency, ACGN Suleiman Modu, on Tuesday, 6 June 2023, led the Zonal Command on an advocacy visit to the leadership of the Arewa Consultative Forum. The meeting aimed to foster collaboration and seek the support of the influential organization in the fight against drug abuse within the northern region. Continuing their mission, the Osun State Command organized a sensitization lecture at the Osun Park Management System Office in Osogbo on Wednesday, 7th June 2023. Over 200 drivers attended the lecture, which was to raise awareness about the dangers of drug abuse and emphasize the importance of maintaining sobriety while operating vehicles. The event served as a valuable platform to educate drivers on the significant role they play in ensuring road safety and preventing accidents caused by substance abuse. On the same day, Kaduna State Command embarked on a crucial advocacy visit to Reverend Emir of Zauzau, His Royal Highness Ambassador Ahmed Nuhu Bamali, CFR, at his palace in Zaria. The purpose of the visit was to seek the Emir's support and guidance in tackling the drug abuse in the state, recognizing the influential position of traditional leaders. The NDLEA aimed to garner their assistance in raising awareness, implementing measures, and supporting rehabilitation efforts. In Abia State, the NDLEA's command organized a comprehensive sensitization lecture at Eziama Comprehensive High School in Aba on Wednesday, 7th June 2023. The lecture targeted students and teachers, recognizing the pivotal role education plays in preventing and combating drug abuse. By equipping the school community with knowledge about the dangers of drug abuse, the NDLEA aims to empower young individuals to make informed decisions and resist the temptations of drug abuse. Shifting focus to Ogun State, the NDLEA's commander held an impactful sensitization lecture at Baptist Girls College, Idiaba, Abeokuta. The event sought to educate and raise awareness among students about the perils of drug abuse, promoting a culture of informed decision-making and drug-free living among the youth. Meanwhile, in Niger State, the NDLEA inaugurated the new executives of the Water Club at IBB University, Lapai. By promoting the formation of such clubs within educational institutions, the NDLEA encourages student-led initiatives to combat drug abuse. NDLEA's command delivered an informative water sensitization lecture at the Ahoada campus of Rivers State University. Through the lecture, Attended by students and staff, the NDLEA aimed to highlight the adverse effects of drug abuse while emphasizing the importance of building a drug-free academic community. Furthering its reach, the Taraba State Command of the NDLEA organized an engaging lecture on the dangers of substance abuse for the students and teachers of Al-Imam Secondary School in Wukari on Thursday, 8 June 2023. By targeting educational institutions, the NDLEA acknowledges the significance of early intervention and education in preventing drug abuse among the youth. Simultaneously, the Kano State Command of the NDLEA conducted an impactful lecture addressing over 500 students at Government Girls Arabic Secondary School in Dambata. The lecture focused on raising awareness about the dangers of substance abuse, equipping students with the knowledge and resilience necessary to resist drug temptations. That's all on this segment. The conversation continues shortly. My name is Charity. Over to our host, Mr. Femi Babafemi.
Thank you very much, Charity, for taking us on that long ride through the news segment. Welcome back, everyone. Let's quickly remind us about some of the rules guiding our process of engagement on this program. When we approve you to be on the speaker's corner, please ensure you remain muted after our guest presentation, and we start calling on individuals to unmute themselves to ask questions and make contributions in few seconds. As we used to say, we don't encourage unauthorized interruption. We don't discuss politics here. Let's all remain guided so that we can all enjoy and benefit from the conversation. Thanks for your usual cooperation. Today's program will be as interactive as much as possible, and we shall will respond to all your questions and take your contributions on the subject of discussion. For those job applicants who are waiting for updates, we shall be bringing this to you in the last few minutes of this program. So please stay calm and let's enjoy the conversation on today's subject of discussion. This is part of our commitment to engage with all our stakeholders in all we do. So right now, let's me formally introduce our guest today. Is someone that has been here, even though not as guest, but then he's in a couple of conversations on this platform. He's been very, very prominent, very, very engaging, and we learned quite a lot from him, and so we felt there is need for us to give him the platform to share more with us and with quite a number of people across Nigeria and the world on this space. And so today it's our pleasure to have and to host Dr. Sani Khalid Mayflower. He is of the Department of Psychiatry, Ahmadu Bello University, Shika, Zaria. Dr. Mayflower, can you please unmute yourself? Oh, I guess let me quickly get him back. He missed. Okay, so I've added Dr. Mayflower back now. Dr. Sani Khalid Mayflower is of the Department of Psychiatry, like I said, Ahmadu Bello University, Shika, Zaria, and at this moment we'd like to yield the mic to him to make his presentation, and thereafter we will be discussing what he's sharing with us or what he's going to share with us. Thank you, Doc. Please, let's hear from you quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Femi Babafemi, the Director, Media and Advocacy of Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency. And thank you. I wish to start by expressing my appreciation to the management of NDLEA for holding this kind of awareness programs, which will help in no small measure in tackling the menace of drug abuse. Today, we are going to discuss about drug abuse, mental wellness, and safeguards for youths. Let me start by defining what drug abuse is. Generally, drug misuse, drug abuse, and drug addiction are all serious public health challenges. And since all this constitute the use of illegal drugs and perhaps inappropriate use of legal drugs, such as tobacco, alcohol, and prescription medications, a lot of people commonly use these terms interchangeably. However, the intervention for each issue, whether it's drug misuse, drug abuse, or drug addiction, varies. That is why correctly identifying a person's drug problem is crucial. Now, what is drug misuse? Drug misuse is generally associated with prescription medicines. Prescription medicines are meant to be taken as directed by doctors. And this is because this type of drugs can cause adverse side effects if directions are not followed properly. Therefore, drug misuse happens when these substances are taken for a purpose that is not consistent with the legal or medical guidelines of taking such medications. And the examples include an individual taking the incorrect dose of a medication, taking the drug at the wrong time, forgetting to take a dose of drug, stopping the use of a drug too soon, taking a drug for reasons other than what they were prescribed for, or even taking a drug that was not prescribed to the person. All these constitute drug misuse. Now, what constitutes drug abuse? Drug abuse happens when drugs, including alcohol, illicit drugs, or any psychoactive substance for that matter, are misused with the purpose of getting high or inflicting harm on the person. The key difference between a person who misuses drugs and a person who abuses drugs is basically the intent. The drug misuser takes a drug to treat a specific ailment, but take it in such a way that is not consistent with the medical or legal guidelines for taking the medication. Whereas a person that abuses drug uses it to elicit certain feelings or to get high. Now, aside these two concepts of drug misuse and drug abuse, then the third one is drug addiction. The National Drug the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NDLEA of United States, in 1999 they defined drug addiction as a complex illness which is characterized by compulsive and at times uncontrollable drug craving, seeking, and using that persist even in the face of extremely negative consequences. People with drug addiction therefore have a physical and or psychological need to take such a substance, and they suffer from intense or debilitating withdrawal symptoms when they go without such substances. Drug addiction is a severe form of drug abuse. That is, when someone takes a certain substance with the main purpose of making the person feel a certain way, or to get high, or to enhance the individual's performance or focus or concentration, that is the drug abuse. But on the other hand, a person reaches a state where his body develops physiological or psychological dependence on such substances, and that stage is considered to be a stage of drug addiction. It can therefore be seen clearly that drug addiction is a severe form of drug abuse. Now, how do you classify psychoactive substances? Generally, in classification of psychoactive substances, we classify them based on the manner in which they act on the brain. That is the resultant effect. We classify them as depressants, stimulants, or hallucinogens, or some call them psychedelics. The depressant basically depresses or suppresses the activity of the central nervous system. Some of them are drugs, legal drugs such as alcohol, benzodiazepines, commonly known diazepam and street name Diaza or DZ, opioids. Common opioids are dihydrocodeine, tramadol, then others heroin, and stronger opioid agents such as morphine and heroin. Then there are other volatile solvents which are inhaled by certain individuals, could be rubber solution, sock and dye solution, and many others. Then there is cannabis, when taken at low dose, also have a depressant effect on the central nervous system. Then for the stimulants, we have the strongest ones such as cocaine, then the amphetamines and methamphetamines, which we just had the busts as read from the news just before the commencement of this program by one of the NDLEA representatives. So the methamphetamine, then caffeine, which is commonly used by different individuals that do office work, from students at school, is a strong stimulant. So most people don't even consider it to be a form of substance or drug abuse. Then others include NDLEA. Then the hallucinogens are such drugs that alters individuals' perception. They can cause hallucination and others. And this include medications or drugs or substances such as cannabis itself, marijuana, which when taken at high dose, it have the effect of being a hallucinogen. Others include magic mushroom, MDMA, others mescaline, LSD, ecstasy, and a lot of others. So, what is the prevalence of drug abuse? Even from our society, we can definitely reflect from the prevalence in which young men and women of various age groups use these psychoactive substances and other drugs. However, according to the World Health Organization, there was an estimated 583,000 deaths that are related to drug use in the year of 2019 alone. And in the year of 2020, it was estimated by the WHO that 275 million people used psychoactive drugs in that year. And this harrowing estimate, although scary, is expected and estimated to rise by 11% worldwide. And it's expected to rise by 40% in Africa alone by the year of 2030. Cannabis, popularly known as marijuana, hashish, and other local names, remains the most common used drug in the global level as of 2014, with estimated 183 million users. Methamphetamines and amphetamine remain the second most used drug overall globally. And considering gender disparity, overall, men are 3 times more likely than women to use drugs such as cannabis, cocaine, and methamphetamines, whereas women are more likely than men to engage in non-medical use of opioids and tranquilizers. And from this ratio of higher usage of cannabis, cocaine, and methamphetamine among the men is actually related to the social roles of such individuals. Some individuals will come to discuss on why individuals use certain drugs, and then we will see why certain individuals prefer certain class of drugs. Now, a lot of the global prevalence in Nigeria, in the high prevalence of non-medical use of prescription drugs, was confirmed by the 2018 drug use survey, which revealed that about 14.4%, or corresponding to about 14.3 million Nigerians that are aged between 15 and 64 years, use drugs in Nigeria, as compared to the 2016 global annual prevalence of any drug use among adult population, which was 5.6%. So you can see the age range of 15 to 64% in Nigeria alone has a higher, almost 3 times the global prevalence in the use of psychoactive substances in the year of 2018 alone. And the survey, National Drug Survey, also revealed that the highest level of drug use was among those that are aged between 25 and 39 years of age. And this is certainly a matter of great concern, considering that that age group is the most productive age range in the youthful population of Nigeria. The report therefore established that youth are the most vulnerable as they possess a lot of energy which can be misdirected either because of peer pressure, frustration, or even sheer curiosity. Now, this is the point where we ask ourselves, why do people use drugs? People use drugs for certain reasons. The National Center for Education and Training on Addiction in SETA in Australia identified some of the factors that are responsible for both conditioning and motivation of people in using drugs. Some people use drugs in order to forget stress or ameliorate pain. Individuals that do a lot of physical work tend to use certain medications in order to make them feel stronger, to relieve the stress of the work. Or some individuals that have certain health conditions, such as individuals with sickle cell disease, that uses certain medications in order to manage the recurrent vaso-occlusive crisis associated with bone pains that they experience, have to oftentimes opt for pain medications that have higher potency than the conventional non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs that are being used. So as a result of use of such drugs, occasionally some of them get used to such drugs, begin to misuse such drugs, and before you know, for the management of such painful condition, which of course is long-lasting, eventually get addicted to it. Some individuals that are being treated for management of cancer pains also oftentimes develop addiction from some of such strong pain relieving medications. So for some individuals, the reason why they use it is for pain management, and eventually they end up getting addicted to it. Some is to manage stress, and they eventually get addicted to it. Then some take drugs in order to enhance their functionality. For instance, this is a common practice among students of tertiary institution, that whenever exams is approaching, they take a lot of substances in order to make them focus, to make them sleep less, as well as cover more areas whenever it's time for exams. And that's why a lot of people take caffeine-containing beverages in order to stay awake. And caffeine, of course, just like we mentioned, is one of the psychoactive substances that is of stimulant nature, and one can eventually get addicted to it. Then some individuals take some of these psychoactive substances for fun or pleasure. People go to clubs, they dance, and in such clubs there is high availability of such psychoactive substances, and some in order to just feel good, to enjoy the pleasure, the overall, either because of the people around or they themselves want to experience something different, they take such drug for the purpose of that pleasurable activity. Then some individuals take drugs to manage psychiatric disorders. Some take them with the prescription of a physician, but take it in a manner that is not consistent with the guidelines, and therefore they can develop problems associated with it. While some actually have background psychiatric or mental health problems, which they fail to seek expert advice and treatment, and therefore decide to self-medicate, and they get exposed to some of such psychoactive substances, and in the end get addicted to such substances, which further complicates their background psychiatric problem. And then some individuals take drugs due to some social occasions. Some they are in social gatherings, just like parties, and they see everyone using it, and then friends will encourage the person, like, everyone is using, why not give it a try? This National Center for Education and Training on Addiction also noted that people essentially initiate using drugs through essentially two processes, either through experimental use, when they see other people using and then behaving in a certain manner, they become curious as to what the experience of such people is, and therefore feel the need to also try and have that experience for themselves. And with regular use, people eventually become addicted to such drugs. While some people get initiated because of peer pressure, they are in a society or in a group or in an environment where there are a lot of people that use those drugs. The people they work around with, the people they work with, the people they study with at school use these drugs. And therefore, they feel that, why am I the only one? That seems different. So in the end, they succumb to that pressure. And also, in order to feel a sense of belonging, they initiate using such drugs in order to give in to such peer pressure factors. Now, there are several factors that influence drug use, and there are at least different categories of factors to consider. There are the predisposing factors to drug abuse or drug use. There is the precipitating factors, which are the enabling factors. There is also the perpetuating factors, which are factors that reinforce and maintain the use of the drugs. For the predisposing factors, individuals that have from childhood, they have serious or resolved psychological trauma, whether it is due to physical abuse, psychological abuse, or sexual abuse. It has been established that they have higher tendency of developing other mental disorders in later life as adults. And therefore, predisposition to such psychological problems can make someone attempt to self-medicate on these psychoactive substances. Then there are other biological factors, like individuals that have certain medical conditions, whether individuals that have pain conditions such as cancers, sickle cell disease. Of course, they are predisposed because the experience of pain they have make them vulnerable to using certain substances in order to control such pain. Then there are precipitating factors. Precipitating factors could be just one developing a psychological problem and he attempts to self-medicate. One may experience one serious life issue, whether it's a traumatic event, whether it's an accident, man-made or natural accident. Individuals can experience a lot of things or medical conditions that will now be the trigger for them to use such substances in order to either self-medicate, to manage such problems, and eventually they can develop mental disorders, which is drug addiction. Then there are perpetuating factors, which are factors that reinforces such drug use. An individual that is constantly facing a lot of social challenges, financial challenges, relationship challenges can actually perpetuate the individual's use of drug. From misuse, he can progress to abuse and eventually get addicted. Now, let's talk about addiction. How does addiction start? Aside the initiation, which is essentially from peer pressure or experimentation, addiction has been established to be a developmental disorder. It's a developmental disorder, or considered as a developmental disorder, because the early incidence of use of such psychoactive substances, particularly cannabis, in most individuals start at a very early age. And research has shown that about 1.5% of first use of cannabis starts at an age less than 12. And between the age of 12 to 17 years, about 67% of cannabis users initiated using cannabis from that age. And a further 25% use is observed between the age of 18 to the age of 25 years. And then only 5.5% of initiation of cannabis and other psychoactive drug use had been observed to commence at the age of greater than 25 years. So the reason why it's considered a developmental disorder, because we can see a whopping majority of 67% starts between the age of 12 to 17 years. And there are a lot of factors that are responsible for that. That is the age where both men and boys and girls start initiating the changes associated with puberty, the hormonal changes, the development of thoughts, maturity in terms of thoughts. People get easily influenced at that age by peer pressure. Individuals within the age of 12 to 13 seems to be very curious individuals, and all these factors combine and account for the majority of the initiation of such drug use among such age. And in addition, we can see these are people that just leave the age of 12 years, the age in which children are more vulnerable to physical, psychological, emotional, and sexual abuse. Now, there are a lot of problems that are associated. What are the problems of drug use? If we look at drug use, the problems can arise from different aspects of life, and depending on the quantity of the use, the frequency, as well as the frequency of using such drugs. Individuals that are intoxicated with, on drugs can have higher tendency of accidents. People that drive under the influence of alcohol and other illicit drugs are predisposed to accidents and injuries. They can injure themselves and they can injure other individuals. And intoxication can also result in poisoning and hangovers. Taking high dose of certain drugs at a particular point in time can result in damage to internal organs, can damage the liver, can damage the kidney, and some can even suffer from various severe brain damage. Some people can go into drug-induced delirium, and some people, after taking high dose of drugs, can even go into coma. Then with regular and excessive use, health problems ensue. When people use regular drugs, depending on the type of drug itself and the route of administration of such drugs, predispose them to health problems. For drugs that are generally, one can have problems as such drugs can damage internal organs, such that inject such drugs can come down with ulcers in the site of injection, can get infection with hepatitis, HIV infections, and other health problems. Regular and excessive use of drugs also damages individuals' finances, as someone spends a lot of his or her resources in order to procure such drugs and then use them. So in the end, individuals end up having poor financial plan because everything now revolves around the drugs. Then regular and excessive drugs also damage relationship. It damages relationship between family, between a person and his children, with his wife, with his parents, and even wider relationships among the society, among friends. Regular and excessive drugs causes serious damage to that. And when it's in a family context, someone that have children and use regular and excessive drugs, it causes child neglect. Someone will be very high on drugs and will forget to even take care of the child, will divert the resources that are meant for the child upkeep, for the education, health of the child, feeding and the rest, and then use it to procure such drugs. And for individuals that develop dependence on drugs, they have impaired control over their life. They no longer have the control over their life or the drug they use. Now the drugs tends to control them. Individuals also engage in what we call drug-centered behavior, whereas individual focuses his entire time and energy in sourcing the drug, using a drug, and recovery from the effects of the drug. Then with dependence comes withdrawal symptoms whenever someone attempts to stop taking the drug or reduces even the quantity of the substance he or she uses. As a result of these withdrawal symptoms, which are very, very uncomfortable, most people that attempt to leave taking the drugs find themselves going back to take drugs in order to manage such withdrawal symptoms. Then let's talk about briefly about treatment of drug abuse. How does one get help when he or she uses drugs? So the treatment of drug use problem actually depends on the specific type of problem that an individual has, whether it's drug misuse, drug abuse, or one has reached a state of addiction. In drug misuse, it's not generally considered to be a disorder. A simple reprimand may help remedy about the adverse effect of using drugs not according to the prescribed guideline, of taking more than the recommended or prescribed dose, of skipping the dose, of taking drugs less than the recommended duration or higher than the recommended duration, or of giving other people to take their prescription drugs. So a simple reprimand might help to remedy the issue of drug misuse. However, when there is repeated misuse of drugs, can eventually result in drug abuse, because when someone is using a drug, especially a psychoactive substance, not according to the prescribed guideline, then someone may have the motivation to be using such because it's giving him a certain sensation or feeling, and one has crossed the line from misuse to what is called drug abuse. Now, the drug misuse generally we frown at it because it can lead to increased drug tolerance and then eventually drug dependence, where cognitive, behavioral, and physiological problems develop. And of course, that is a stage we refer to as addiction. In the drug abuse cases, an honest conversation about the drug abuse and its consequences can inspire a person to change. This is a psychological intervention that we call motivational interview. And it's important, though, that drug users understand all the psychological, social, legal, mental, and spiritual repercussions of substance abuse. Now, on the other hand, willpower alone is not enough to change the behavior of a person with a drug addiction, as their bodies are already chemically dependent on such substances. Therefore, individuals with drug addiction may require pharmacotherapy, which is treatment with certain chemical agents in order to help them get out of the condition. This process usually starts with a medically supervised detoxification period, which helps to manage the drug withdrawal symptoms. A mental health professional then works together with the patient to tailor a recovery plan towards sobriety. This plan may involve regular attendance at support group meetings and then follow-up therapy sessions to ensure that the patient has the tools and technique to help them to maintain a happy and healthy lifestyle. Now, this is the few things I'm going to discuss about drug addiction. Then it's actually basically, if we look at it, three topics: drug abuse, mental wellness, and then the last, which is surrogates for the youths. So, mental wellness. Well, I would like to start discussing mental wellness by first defining what health itself means. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of individuals, and not the mere absence of a disease or infirmity. So you can see from this concept, complete physical, mental, and social well-being, one can therefore not lay a claim to sound health without mental health, without being mentally sound. And therefore, this gives rise to the popular phrase of no health without mental health. Then, mental health on itself, the World Health Organization defines it as a state of well-being in which individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. From this definition of mental health, you can see that we have migrated from the black and white definition that was given to mental well-being in the past, where people just see it as the absence of a mental illness. Therefore, the absence of mental illness does not define mental wellness or mental well-being. And from this definition, it is therefore clear that mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It also affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps to determine how we handle stress and relate to others, as well as make healthy choices in our lives. Mental wellness is more than just the mere absence of a mental illness. The relationship between mental illness and mental wellness is complex. About 85% of the world population does not have a diagnosed mental illness, but these people are not all mentally well or thriving. And this is because a lot of people are facing pervasive stress, worry, loneliness, life and social challenges. On the other hand, those people that have a diagnosed mental disorder can still have a moderate or positive mental wellness, especially if they are receiving treatment. Individuals with mental illness can actually have good relationship, feel happy, or function well at their job as long as they are receiving treatment. Now, practices that increase our mental wellness, such as exercise, rests, good sleeping habits, etc., are increasingly recognized as protective factors for our mental health, as well as this help in reducing the severity and symptoms of mental illness alongside conventional treatment regimens. Mental wellness is also an active process of moving from languishing to resilience and then subsequently to a higher level, which is flourishing. Therefore, in the global mental health, we do not consider mental illness as just one having a mental disorder or not having it as a concept of mental wellness. We look at it as a spectrum, which everyone lies at a certain point in that spectrum, from a spectrum of very poor mental health to a spectrum of very good mental health, or from a spectrum of languishing to resilience and then to a spectrum of flourishing. Now, on another level, mental wellness moves upward to a deeper, richer, and more meaningful human experience, which is often described as flourishing. However, what it means to flourish is subjective and personal, and it is shaped by individual values, culture, religion, and even their beliefs. For one person, flourishing can mean functioning at the top of their game and achieving their life goals, while for another, flourishing simply might mean self-transcendence, which simply means exceeding one's usual limits. Mental wellness helps to shift the perspective away from stigma to a shared humanity. Even though mental field on its own has done a lot of work to mitigate the stigma surrounding mental illness, a sense of shame, denial, and secrecy continue to afflict people in communities and cultures around the world. Mental wellness can help shift our focus towards a more positive and empowering approach, how we can feel, think, connect, and function better, rather than just avoiding or coping with mental illness. It also emphasizes our capacity to build resilience, to reduce suffering, to find inner peace, joy, and also to seek meaning, purpose, and connection in life, which is of course a universal language shared by all people. Mental wellness is a multi-dimensional and holistic and personal experience. Mental wellness recognizes the integrated and holistic nature of our health and well-being. The state of our mind affects our body and vice versa, because individuals that have mental illness can experience certain physical illness. For instance, An individual that has a depressive illness because of the persistent low mood, low energy, and loss of interest in pleasurable activities, that individual may experience poor appetite, may not take adequate nutrition. He can eventually be malnourished. Person can lose weight, and of course, with the resultant effect in lowering the immune capability of that individual, and he can develop other physical illnesses. And on the other hand, individuals that have certain physical illnesses, such as cancers, chronic illnesses, such as diabetes, research has shown that some of them have a lot of comorbid mental health problems, such as depressive and anxiety disorders. So sometimes our circumstances change. We need to adopt new practices and strategies in order to handle stress, to improve resilience, and deal with adversity. The key strategies for mental wellness fall into four main categories or pathways: activity and creativity, growth and nourishment, rest and rejuvenation, and then connection and meaning. And each of these have mind and body, and then internal and external dimensions. And together they represent a menu of options for pursuing mental wellness. There is no set path in achieving mental wellness. Therefore, people can choose the strategies and activities that are the most important and effective for them. Then the last thing I'm going to discuss is about the safeguards for our youth against drug abuse. In safeguarding youth against drug abuse, there must be a deliberate recognition and response to risk factors for drug abuse among youth. And some of the strategies that can help in safeguarding the youth are: 1. Empowerment. When the youth are empowered through education, vocational training, and employment, they feel supported, and that encourages them to make their own decision and informed consent. On the other hand, individuals that are idle, they are unemployed, they are out of school, there is this popular saying that an idle mind is a double-edged sword. So therefore, such individuals are faced with a lot of frustrations, and therefore it's likely they succumb, and they have higher risks of succumbing to the menace of drug abuse. So empowerment is a key strategy. Then prevention. It is better to take an action before a harm occurs. Therefore, making appropriate legislation against the importation, marketing, distribution, and illicit use of substances and other lawful substances with non-detrimental effect on mental health of the youth can help in safeguarding our youth. Because oftentimes the campaign against drug abuse seems to target illicit substances such as cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana. But from the psychiatric point of view, there are a lot of substances or drugs that are legal to use that unfortunately cause severe mental and behavioral problems, such as alcohol and tobacco, which are legal for individuals aged 18 years and above to use. So making legislation also to limit the availability of such substances can actually prevent and protect younger adults from exposure to such substances. Then protection. Concerning protection, continuous awareness campaigns on the dangers of drug abuse in schools, in places of worship, in workplaces, and other areas of human endeavor, as well as provision of treatment and rehabilitation for people with substance use disorders, can help to protect young men and women, as well as our women youth population, from falling victims of drug abuse. Also protecting children from physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, because such adverse childhood experiences are major risk factors for subsequent development of mental, behavioral, and substance use disorders later in life. Then partnership. Collaboration with law enforcement agencies through community policing and timely reporting of drug and illicit substance peddlers can also go a long way in safeguarding our youth. Because oftentimes this community policing aspect is lacking in our communities. There are certain individuals in most communities that are known to peddle such substances. They peddle them not only to adults but to young children, and even recruit young children to push such drugs for them. And unfortunately, some people just decide, or most members of the community shy away from reporting such to law enforcement agencies. So partnership and collaboration with law enforcement agencies in community policing and timely reporting can help in safeguarding our youth. Then accountability. Measures are taken to arrest and prosecute traffickers of illicit drugs and other psychoactive substances will help to curtail the availability and spread of such substances in the community, and this will also serve as a deterrent to others. In conclusion to all this above our presentation, it is worthy of note that challenges arising from the drug abuse are not restricted to people who use drug alone, but these have wider health, social and economic consequences on the family, the community, and the country, and constitute a very serious security measure too. Expectedly, in countering the world drug problem and safeguarding the youth, the international community has recognized that this is one problem that cannot be addressed effectively if it is not addressed collectively. We all have a collective and shared responsibility to strengthen the prevention and treatment of substance abuse, including narcotic drug abuse, other hard drugs, and harmful use of alcohol and nicotine in order to safeguard our youth. The goal is good health and the well-being of the society. Thank you, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mifla, for that awesome detailed presentation. Let me just note that indeed I expect everybody to be muted now. If you are not muted, I'm most likely to remove you from the speaker's corner. Please let's follow our rules and wait for when we are allowed or invited to make our contributions. I appreciate your cooperation. Well, like I was saying, I think I got just at the point Dr. Mifla was concluding, he said something that will be one of my takeaway from his presentation, and that is the fact that the problem of substance abuse can't be addressed effectively if not addressed collectively. That's awesome. That's exactly all we're saying, that we all have to go or fight against this menace with a whole society approach. Everybody, every stakeholder has to be involved. I can see quite a number of our friends across the globe. Let me quickly start with Hang Singh. I think Hang Singh is an OST counselor. I believe he's joining us from India. Hang Singh, if you can hear me, can you please unmute yourself? Let's quickly get your contributions, interrogation, or question of the presentation of Dr. Mifla. If you are ready, let's hear from you. Otherwise, I'll go to the next person quickly because our time is fast spent and we have quite a lot to share and discuss on this program today. Okay, I'll move quickly to Dr. Dimeji. Dr. Dimeji, that's Avatar T. Avatar T, if you can hear me, can you unmute yourself and let's get your reaction to the presentation, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Ebeo Oladimeji. I'm so very happy to be on this platform. I always join Weekend Week-out every time. I've been following. I'm also an applicant. I came for the screening. I want to talk on awareness, and I enjoyed the presentation. It was perfect. In short, I was just jotting down, and it was like a revision of school. Dr. Mayflower actually did a perfect job. I don't have a question, but I will talk on the creation of awareness. I think awareness should be more from primary school, not just targeting secondary school, because some of these children get indoctrinated or get initiated into abuse of drugs right from primary school in some setting. Then also talk about legislation. I think the NDLEA should try to collaborate with broadcasting medias or media house generally in order to censor or regulate the glorifying of drugs when it comes to music, home video, and because children from primary school or children from tender age tend to learn that when you use drug, it makes you read very well. When you take some of these things, it makes you remember what you are taught in class. That's the idea some of them get while tend to fall and why tend to abuse this drug, not because they want to, but because they've watched in video that okay, when you listen to so person's music, you take drugs, it makes you hard, it makes you feel this, and those things are not actually right. That's why I think we need some legislator for rules to also censor or stop the glorification of use of drugs through the music and videos and maybe own videos too. Also, then I also want to talk about empowerment. Now, when we were talking about empowerment, we're talking about youth. Me, I try to see drug abuse. Just the Dr. Flower say as holistic. Let's look at it holistically from the teachers, not just only from these children. What is the government doing in order to make sure that teachers in schools don't even abuse drugs themselves or are properly empowered or properly paid and not being stressed or also so they don't abuse drugs for one reason or another, so they can also teach these children. That we talk about teachers, talk about caregivers in terms of boarding schools and the rest. I think these are my contribution. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oladimeji. Awesome. We're glad to have you, and hopefully we'll look forward to having you join us very soon by the grace of God. I guess because I heard you saying you are one of the applicants. Thank you for that contribution. Let's quickly, since he didn't ask question, I'd like to ask Dr. Befla to keep his to keep calm now. Let's quickly go back to India where I have Han Singh raising his hand. I guess he's ready now. Han Singh, if you are ready, please unmute yourself and let's hear from you before I move to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba Fanny, and good evening. Nice to meet you, all of you. I am from India. My name is Hari Singh. I am OST counselor in Delhi, the capital of India, and we are providing OST, opioid substitute therapy, providing buprenorphine medicine. It's a sublingual medicine, and we are providing to those who are injecting drug users. It's a sublingual medicine, and we are providing this medicine from government department free of cost, and it's available for daily regular patients. We not provide to take home these medicines. This is we are providing in front of our nurse, and she given in front of her, and after that our clients go to our workplace or our to personal home or everywhere. So it's a NDPS drug. So it's very hard to come to each and everyone to every day go for the medicine. It's very hard. So this is I feel that's very difficult to a drug user. It's very hard to take medicine and go to first medicine and after that go to our livelihood for our workplace. It's I feel very hard. So we are providing also other link services. So many injecting diseases are found hepatitis B and C positive and so many are found HIV positive, and we link them to the ART center antiretroviral treatment, provide them and provide them the counseling of treatment adherence of OST medicine adherence and the ART treatment adherence and hepatitis C and B treatment adherence. And some people are found tuberculosis from infected from tuberculosis, and if we found symptomatic we refer to link to the hospital and direct observe treatment of dots. It's a government program and it's totally free. All kind of treatment is free in India. So, and I'm looking in Delhi, and Delhi is a very high population, huge population of injecting users, and so many people are also including opioids like heroin, cheras, and canvases and others, and alcoholics too. So we are providing as our capacity and as per our knowledge, and providing family counseling and one-to-one counseling, wife counseling to the wife, and our focus is mainly first is testing. Testing is very important in these clients, and like HIV and hepatitis B, C, and VDRL and other tests.
Thank you
And we
very
also
much.
link to the one minute. We also link to the these clients to the social protection and link to the government services also. So it's very important to we provide them also. So many people are homeless, and we are providing shelters to them, and we are doing our capacity as best. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Harry Singh from India, for your intervention. Dr. Mifla want to speak to he's sharing his own experience, how they contend or how they react to some of these issues out there in New Delhi, India. You want to speak to that, or we should let go? He's just trying to share experience
Yes.
from the other side.
Well, one of the issues he discussed are particularly concerned with use of substitution therapy. You see, in management of substance abuse, particularly addiction, I mentioned during the course of the presentation that willpower is not enough. And oftentimes some individuals require pharmacotherapy, that is use of certain drugs in order to help them. And there is this principle of harm reduction. Sometimes some individuals' abstinence from use of drugs cannot be achieved, and therefore we have to use encourage them to use other means that is not as harmful as others. For instance, someone who smokes a cigarette who is dependent on nicotine can have substitutes such as nicotine patch, nicotine chewing gum, nicotine nasal spray. At least it helps some of the addiction because it provides the nicotine, which is the psychoactive substance, and then eliminate the danger associated in other volatile individuals that one gets from lighting cigarettes. For individuals, he mentioned about opioid treatment, substitution therapy. Individuals that use heroin, injection, or opioids, there is a substitution where we give methadone. Is a psychoactive substance, but less addictive than that, and with the benefit that it reduces the harm of women to inject him who has such a dose. Therefore, eliminating the patient one getting infections, hepatitis, HIV, and tetanus. So, quite frankly, substitution therapy and harm reduction strategies are very vital. Unfortunately, most of these substances that we require for substitution therapy are not readily available in the country, and in where they are available, they are actually very hard to come by and subsequently very, very expensive.
Thank you very much for your response there, Dr. Mefla, our guest speaker on today's show. Okay, we move quickly to Strain Africa. Strain Africa, let's hear from you. Go ahead, unmute yourself, and let's hear from you. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the privilege. Good evening to Dr. Noefla. A very wonderful presentation from your end. All right. Please, I have some points noted during the course of the conversation. But on behalf of Serene Africa, my name is Gift Gaza. I happen to be the General Secretary of Sheko Gaza Rehabilitation Access Initiative Network, which has the acronym Serene. Okay, so please, I have some points to note down because this is a combat against substance abuse. I'm looking forward to having a mental wellness environment or society. And my point of emphasis will be more on grassroots combat. You see, substance has been abused, not just the youth now. These days, we have even the adults using substance, we have even the children abusing substance, and with my experience dealing with the young ones and also the old ones, I've discovered that we have people today with 20 years, 30 years experience of abusing drugs. So I want to suggest to the organization, to the NDLEA as a body, if the organization can come together and look forward to see grassroots NGO, so that they can be partnership with them. Because I heard somebody, that is Avatar, talking about media publicity. Yeah, media publicity is good, but media publicity only give them the information. But when we talk about the combating drug abuse, media publicity will not give that to them. From my experience, so to give birth to this combat to become successful is engagement. Having some of these NGOs who we know that are reliable, engaging these schools, engaging the parents, engaging the secondary school, creating club. Because not just students now or people abuse substance these days, we have even teachers abusing substance these days. We have teachers giving these drugs or giving this substance to their students or pupils to abuse. It's not correct. So I think my suggestion I want to bring to the house this afternoon is that we should look forward to engaging some of these NGOs that are really combating substance, so that we can get this publicity awareness down to the grassroots. Because if you're able to tackle it from the grassroots, the results at the top will be easy. But whereby we are fighting at the top and the grassroots are not informed of the danger of what they are doing, you see, this combat issue or this vision will be difficult to achieve. So this is my humble submission for this evening. Once again,
Thank you.
And good evening.
Thank you very much, Gift Gaza of Strain Africa. Let me quickly respond to some of, especially the area of collaborating with NGOs and CSO. I'd like to assure you that if you have joined us when we're taking our news highlights, we devoted a segment of our news highlights to our war against drug abuse activities across our state command. NGOs, CSOs, and community leaders are encouraged to partner with our commands in their localities so that they can work together to get these messages. All our commands are formations across the states and local government areas indeed are devoted. They do all of this every day, every week, and they work in partnership with civil society organizations and NGOs. So we encourage Strain Africa, wherever your location is, to please work with our command, the state command close to you. Before I take on the next, before I invite, thank you, just mute yourself, please. Before I invite, I've seen Castina State Commander of the agency. Let me quickly go again to outside of the country to stop with one of our regulars, a senior member of the platform who has been very much engaged. She's joining us from Chicago, Illinois, and that's Loretta. Loretta, please unmute yourself and let's hear from you. Before, otherwise I'll drag you and your network must not misbehave. Thank you, Loretta.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good to be back here. It's been over a month since I was on this platform. I've missed a lot. Not to not to take more of your time, I want to thank the speaker for his presentation. But before I go there, I'm sorry, Mr. Buffett, but let me just quickly say that if the session could just be reduced, the timing for it is too long, and we can be very deliberate about individuals that present that in terms of clearly mentioning words. I'm sorry to say, but at the time, I don't know about others, but she was losing me because I wasn't really following, and some of the things she was pronouncing was hard for me to understand. So I would want to really suggest that consider the audience when presenting this news or sharing this update. But automatically she's doing well, and let's see how we can reduce the timing for it and how words can be clearer. Going back to this presentation, it's fantastic, but I have two questions for the presenter. You talked about MAT. I really want you to expatiate or deliberately talk more about where we are with that in Nigeria and where we are with harm reduction as well. And I am very concerned about the impression you give that it is only medications that can help people to overcome their substance use illnesses. I don't even understand my question, because that's not the only approach. Because when you give that as the only approach in Nigeria, how many facilities, how many institutions provide that services? What is the financial investment by the government, aside from what NDLEA is doing, to ensure we have health facilities provide those services? So Nigerians, in Nigeria, we talk about a lot of audacious policies and plans and all that. But what is really on the ground? We are just currently, when you represent, you sound as if MAT methadone is all over or is even being piloted. I read an article recently, or a paper recently. They just piloted MAT in about few states in Nigeria. And there's nothing going on in that regard. So until we get to that point, what is the plan? Where are we going from here? Because we're in a pandemic. We're in a big pandemic with substance use disorder among young people. So that's my question. Sorry, I'm actually trying to prepare to go out to school.
Loretta, you're actually panting, and your panting is affecting the audio. But indeed, because you dragged us, that's why I'm trying to drag you back. So far,
Okay, so that's sorry, I'm trying to quickly dress up and rush out, but I just wanted to ask this question.
That's fine. Let Dr. Mayfly respond to you quickly. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Loretta, for your questions and concerns. The first is concerning the harm reduction, which you mentioned. You see, the issue of harm reduction, these are the things that certain centers are capable of delivering. And when we are talking about harm reduction, it's not only substitution. I said where we do harm reduction and substitution are in areas where abstinence is not possible. It's very, very difficult. And for methadone, for instance, I mentioned that not only the methadone for substitution, nicotine patch, nicotine spray, nicotine gums that can be used for substitution. One of the problems with that management is the unavailability. That's specifically what I mentioned. What the problem is that most of these things are not available, and in the few areas where they are available, they are very, very expensive and difficult to come by. So unfortunately, when it comes to issue of centers or individuals supplying these drugs used for harm reduction and others, this is a function of business, not that of the healthcare professional. The healthcare professional advocates for the supply But unfortunately, businesses only tend to supply certain things that are in high demand because of profit. And sometimes businesses deliberately will not supply an essential drug, even though that drug may be needed because of potential losses. Because some individuals may supply such substances, and then the substances and drugs will be lying in stores until they expire. So that is the problem. So that's why I'm actually advocating for policy from the government, even with regards to not only the prevention of the spread, use, distribution, but also with regards to treatment and rehabilitation. And if a policy is made where the government can supply, especially to government facilities, that will make such things more available. And your second question was that you said I made the impression as if drugs are only things that can help with treatment of addiction. If you follow my presentation properly, that's actually not what I meant. I said there is different category of problems with use of drugs, from misuse to drug abuse and subsequently drug addiction, which comes with dependence. So it's only the addiction that I'm stating that willpower alone will not be enough to manage it. That in addition to other psychotherapeutic measures such as motivational interview and so on and so forth, the harm reduction strategies, then one needs detoxification, where you have to use certain drugs in order to manage the withdrawal symptoms. Because the willpower alone, one wanting to stop because it's causing harm to him, at some point may work, but immediately one abstains from such drugs, and then this uncomfortable withdrawal symptoms. And mark you, these withdrawal symptoms can be very, very serious. For instance, in serious withdrawal symptoms in alcohol, where you see delirium tremens, one will be having serious tremors, sweating, diaphoresis, some convulsion, and eventually some people can even lapse into coma and die simply as a result of withdrawal. So that is why I was mentioning that willpower alone in such scenarios, where someone reach a state of dependence, especially physiological dependence, this is not enough to control. You have to, in addition to other measures, use psychotherapy to manage such problem.
Thank you very much there, Dr. Mefla, for the intervention, for putting it out rightly. Okay, let's quickly, because our time is fast spent. Before I come to our Katsina State Commander, let me quickly, I saw Tonga Waji, who is a mental health specialist, psychologist and psychotherapist, has been coming in and out, and I think it's necessary we get his own view on the presentation by Dr. Mefla. Okay, you can now unmute yourself, TJ, I think, yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for the presentation. It really makes sense. So my question is about having a moderating role from the family. I mean, does the family have a role to play in curbing or curtailing drug abuse amongst young people? And then in a society where the economy is not really favorable, what is the place of empowerment in curbing or curtailing drug abuse? I mean, is there a place for empowerment? Can empowerment actually play a role in curtailing drug abuse? And may I also request that I would love to speak personally, I mean one-on-one with Mr. Femi Babafemi. Please grant me the audience. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. TJ, you can send me a DM and we can start the conversation from there. Okay, let me allow Dr. Mefla to respond to his questions or contribution.
Okay. Thank you, TJ, for your questions. Okay, you mentioned about the role of family in curtailing drug abuse. Yes, family have a significant and very serious and key role when it comes to either prevention of drug abuse or helping their relative when he or she has already commenced using drugs in order to get out of it. We mentioned that drug abuse is a developmental problem because it starts at a very early age in most instances. So you can see the roles and values that the family imbibe in the individual can actually have a very, very serious impact on his or her perception about what drug use constitute. Again, individuals, the family aspect, someone that is raised in an area or an environment where there are a lot of drug users, there are a lot of individuals that peddle drugs, inevitably is exposed to the availability of such substances. He's exposed to the knowledge of the effects of such substances, how some individuals uses it. For instance, in the area I was raised in Tudumada, Zaria, there are a lot of individuals that use these drugs. There are a lot of individuals that peddle such drugs. And some of those individuals that use drugs, some of us, we grow up seeing them as like tough guys where other people don't dare cross them. So unfortunately, some individuals, simply because they want to also be seen as tough, succumb to the experimentation with the use of drugs, and then eventually some got hooked. So you can see the family can do it in such a way that with their intervention, they can help in making the environment free of drugs. And that's why we are talking about issue of collaboration with law enforcement agencies in reporting drug peddlers and other individuals that peddle illicit substances in the society. Because once the society is clean of such, there is less supply, and then there is less likelihood of children getting contact with such drugs. Then another thing I mentioned, the kind of values that we instill in our children, the kind of schools we take them, the values that such schools instill in the children will also do go a long way in ensuring that people do not fall victims to use of drugs. Then when it comes to an individual that has already started using drugs, family support can do a lot in helping the individual get out of it. Because once someone develops an addiction, it is no longer an issue of morality. The first decision to take drugs is perhaps
protective factors that actually help mitigate against substance use. And what are those skills that needs to be imbibed in young ones growing, probably at the tender age of probably like 3, 4, 5, 6, which will help them against future when even they were exposed or when they started experiencing peer pressure challenges in life. What are those skills that will help them to mitigate against taking to the options of substance use? So, want of time, I think I will just stop here. Thank you very much.
Then the second one is what steps can be taken to prevent drug abuse among youth in schools and communities. Then my contribution is majorly support groups. When you have a support groups, it provides a safe and supportive environment for youth to share their experiences and receive encouragement from their peers. These groups can help to reduce feelings of isolation and promote a sense of belonging among youth, because when they find out that when they air their view, you will not use it against them. Most youths, they are looking for someone they can confide in. And when they tell you it as a secret things about them, and they discover that at the end of the day you now use it against them, they will tend to be isolated. They will tend to go to their parents, and when they go back to their parents, they now find out that it's drug that is the only thing that can help them out. I know that we are doing a lot, and NDLEA is doing a lot of work, and I know that it's just one of the organizations out there that is really out for youth, and they are really out to do as a correction of what has already been spoiled. And I know that when we met our ideas together, when we put it in practice, because we do more of talking than the action. Because when we do the action, we discover that if I start it, when the youth comes to me and maybe confide something in me about him being in abusing maybe relationship, or his peer pressure is pressurizing him or her, I can be able to handle the person and say, okay, don't be don't be scared of it, or don't as in look at as in see it as if that you are the only one in this mess. Just see it as if that, okay, you have discovered your error and you can be able to trace yourself back. Okay, this is the safeguard or the preventive measures that you can take to not to still involve yourself in it, because most of our mental health drugs are not cheap, and they are not free. So if they discover that the medications are not even safe, so are not free, how will they now access the health care? How will they now as in tell someone about what they are going through? We tend to as in tell them that they cannot amount to anything. You just tell them how bad they are. They know that they have done something bad, but they are looking for as in a headway. They are looking for as a someone that can help them act from that pressure. Pressures is everywhere. Even though only Nigeria alone, everybody's going through pressure, but we can, each and every one of us, to come out of drug. Thank you so much, sir.